I could smell the beer on his breath and see the disgust in his eyes. I didn't care what the court said anymore. He had never physically hurt me before, but I was done taking chances. I had to protect my daughter, my heart, and my life. When I finally walked away, my only legal win was sole custody of my daughter. It was all I wanted. I assumed responsibility for almost everything else. I just didn't care. She was all that mattered. I was deeper in debt, legal fees, and uncertainty than ever before. But I held on tight to my vow to give her more. I would give her everything. I'd work harder, make more, buy her more, do more for her, and prove to her that everything would be okay. I had no idea that this new goal would be just as damaging and just as hard on my heart. Just the two of us. Once I was on my own, I had to figure out how to make ends meet. I was working full-time, making $17,000 a year, and my daughter was in daycare full-time. I wasn't receiving child support and wasn't going to chase it and invite the madness back. I was paying more than $1,100 a month in childcare and rent and making just over $1,400. Add in the utilities, groceries, clothes, insurance, and car payment, and all that's left over is the credit card. I wanted the first Christmas on our own to be special. Each Christmas from my childhood was grander than the last, filled with more and more presents, and I wanted to be sure my daughter had the same experience. I didn't have the money for one gift, let alone piles of presents, so I applied for every store credit card I could think of. My credit cards were close to their limits, but if I could find a few $100s of credit at a few stores, I thought I could give my daughter the Christmas she deserved. What was I thinking? At 3 years old, she couldn't possibly enjoy the onslaught of gifts, and by January 1st, my spending hangover set in. Things had to change. I applied for financial assistance through the state, but made a little too much to qualify. They suggested I quit my job to take advantage of what they had to offer, but that was never an option for me. Instead, I found a job that, while much more demanding, paid considerably more. With it came my first cell phone and my first commission check. I had arrived. The more I worked, the more I made, and the more I spent. And I wanted even more. My commissions were paid quarterly, and with that influx of cash, the last thing I wanted to do was pay extra on my credit cards. Instead, I took my daughter shopping. We went out to eat and did all of the things that weren't available to us for a while. We went to Club Med twice, and a lot of other places too. I was working so hard and had put up with so much, so I thought we deserved more. Spoiler alert. While I could never have articulated it then, I did want more. More love, connection, laughter, and adventure. All that was too hard to measure, so instead I made more money, worked more, spent more, and accumulated more. And then there were 3. I met my husband Mark when I turned 30. If you believe in soulmates, I would call him mine. When we went on our first date, Bailey cried as I left her with my mom, who was visiting. When he asked, "Why don't we bring her along?" I knew he could be my man because he already cared about my heart and hers. His sister introduced us, and after our first date, I told her I wasn't sure if it was a date thing or a friend thing. That evening, after our conversation, Mark sent me an email with the subject line, "Date." In his email, he listed all the definitions of the word date he could find, from fruit to appointments to romantic get-togethers. He said he'd be happy to take me on another date to clear up any confusion I had. That was the beginning of our love story. Many of our first dates had been mountain hikes, overnight adventures at Appalachian Mountain Club huts in New England, or arriving first at ski resorts for early morning runs. 90% of those dates included Bailey. We were all getting to know one another, and it didn't take long before I fell in love with both the man and the trails. Hiking, skiing, and other adventures became the